Hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Saturday. Still Saturday. Let's give it a second as usual. Today, welcome. Today we're talking about some bad things that affect our inflammation, our pain level, and directly affect endometriosis. If you are watching for the first time, welcome. I usually use slides during lives like that. First of all, so that you can take some screenshots of the information for your future reference, and second of all, to keep my bilingual endo brain focused. Otherwise, I will keep rattling for hours and getting off track, and believe me, you don't want to listen to that. Welcome everybody. So while I'm using slides, I usually turn the comments off for the same purpose, not to be distracted. This presentation will be around 15 minutes, and then at the end, I will answer the questions. I will also include the questions that have been submitted before this live, so I will address that. I see that everybody's here. Let's start with the topic at hand. Let me get the slides. If you could please click on a heart to tell me that you can still hear me, you can still see me, great. Awesome. So welcome to the session on toxins and endo. If you don't know who I am, my name is Anastasia Hackler, or my hubby calls me Hack. I am an endo warrior myself. My own endometriosis healing journey started when I was 33 in 2014, and during that time I have found effective ways to address my endo through a lot of research, trial and errors, always ups and downs. And for the past year and a half, I have helped other women, dozens of other women, relieve their endometriosis symptoms using a system of gradual daily activities that I created called 90-Day Endo Hack Plan. Here, let me turn the comments off. Welcome. Here you can read about my education, my background. I'm not going to go over that. Let's talk about the topic at hand. There are 84,000 chemicals plus that have been registered in the United States alone to be used. And today I'm going to talk to you about all of them. Of course not. The reason being is there are over 84,000 chemicals registered for use in the United States, but only around 200 have been actually tested for safety. So that's like 0.2%. Quite a statistics, right? But why are we even talking about toxins? What do they even have to do with endometriosis? Well, remember, I always talk about the whole body approach. The addressing environment and toxins is part of that approach. Recent studies show that our environment is credited 85% of our health status. Our genes are only responsible for 15% of how we feel. So that's a staggering statistics, right? And environment is everything that we breathe, that we eat, that we put on our skin, including clothes. And the exposure to all of those chemicals and toxins, it builds up over time, and it contributes to development and severity of chronic hormonal autoimmune condition such as endometriosis. So what chemicals exactly, right? And here, a disclaimer, I'm not trying to scare you, and I don't want to. Those toxins are everywhere around us, and it would be totally unreasonable and impossible to avoid all of them. We would have to move to Mars or something like that for that. So let's just look at what is around us, what we are actually exposed to, and how we can reduce that exposure. In this video, I will only touch upon 3 major chemicals that are directly related to endometriosis. reproductive health problems, and also inflammation and pain. So the very first, I call them offenders, the very first offender is dioxins. Endometriosis Association has been a pioneer in this research on toxins since 1992. And their research has shown that dioxins act like hormones in our body. They damage our immune system, and they can directly cause endometriosis and also fibroids. And the biology of the endometriosis itself is affected by dioxins on multiple levels. They actually contribute to the increase of cell activity, the growth, adhesion formation, the ability of endometriosis tissue to grow its own blood vessels so that it can feed more and grow more, and also the pain levels. But what are the dioxins and where we can find them? Dioxins are highly toxic chemicals, and they are not produced directly. They are usually a byproduct of all kinds of different industries that are listed here. Production of pesticides, herbicides, chemicals, plastics, and so on and so forth. And the dangerous part is that dioxins concentrate in our food chain, and they are contaminating animals and fish. That's why food is the primary source of our dioxin exposure. And the horrific thing is that it takes them 11 years to break down in our body. Our body accumulates them, and it takes 11 years on average for them to break down. So we cannot just take a detox pill and pee them out. That's not going to happen. And it's really scary. But let's not panic here. Let's see what foods are high in dioxins so that we can actually avoid those or limit those. The higher amount of dioxins than any other food or drink, weight for weight, is cow milk. So if you're not drinking cow milk, your risk is already significantly lower. And by the way, that also includes the organic milk when I talk about milk. So the dioxins, you're probably thinking, okay, so if it's milk, is it also in sour cream? Is it also in yogurt? That's a good question. Dioxins primarily concentrate and build up in the fatty tissue. So if those products are high fat products, then yes, dioxins are there. That's why other sources of dioxins, fatty meat, fatty fish, poultry, and also eggs. The reasonable solutions to reduce your exposure, because we cannot totally eliminate it, but to reduce the exposure is avoiding cow milk, period. Milk and cream, even organic kinds. Switching to nut milks. If you are consuming fermented dairy products, that through studies have shown that they do affect inflammation in a positive way in women with endometriosis. If you just choose low fat or no fat varieties, you will reduce the exposure to dioxins. If you are not 100% plant-based, like myself, I have tried on my endo journey vegetarian and vegan diets, and they just do not work for my body type, for me. I still eat meat. If you just choose lean, organic, grass-fed varieties, that would be good. Eating overall more fruits and vegetables that are organic is good. And if you do like several days of all plant-based days, then it would be also a good contributor to the reduction of exposure. The next one, the second toxin that I want to talk about, but before I do, let's finish with dioxins. We talked about the food exposure. Now let's talk about something that is not food related. Dioxins are a byproduct of bleaching. So they can be found in bleach, and they can also be found in products that we use on a monthly basis, which is feminine products like tampons and pads. when I was studying all of that on my endo journey, and when I was tracking my pain levels and kind of trying to figure out what is affecting my pain levels, I noticed that every time I would get exposed to bleach, if I clean something at home, or if I wash clothes with using bleach, my pain level was higher. And whenever I totally removed bleach from my home, the pain has reduced. So just removing bleach from your environment will help you a lot. Switching to organic, dioxin-free or chlorine-free pads also helps with the low number of days in your period, low pain levels, and also not as much flow. And it's not just me who experienced that. There are a lot of women that report the same benefits when they switch to organic, dioxin-free and chlorine-free pads and tampons. Here, I have listed the brands that I use personally. Okay, so the next one is BPA, and it's a bisphenol A. You probably heard a lot about it. It's a well-known estrogen. It's a fake estrogen, and it acts like estrogen inside of our body, and we can end up with estrogen intolerance because of that. Everybody knows that bisphenol A or BPA is in plastic, bottles, bags, you name it. But BPA is also found, and it's made with BPA glasses and contact lenses. It's in the dust, it's in our air, and it's everywhere. But the studies have found that the major source of BPA exposure is the paper that they print receipts on. And we come in contact with receipts all the time. The receipts themselves are not actually printed with ink. They are coated with the paper is coated with chemicals. Some of them are BPAs, and when this paper comes in contact with heat from the printing machine, that's how we see the printed receipt, but it's not actually printed. So the solutions are logical. If you can stay away from plastic and choose glass, wood, stainless steel, and stuff like that. If you are not ready to give up plastic containers, food containers yet, at least avoid heating them, storing acidic foods in those, and also please get rid of old, cracked, and chipped containers, because heat, whether it's microwave or dishwasher, acidity and age helps the BPA particles get released from the plastic and leak right into your food and whatever you're using that container for. If you need receipts, you can ask for a virtual electronic receipt if possible, or if it's not available, just don't handle receipt too much. If you are an accountant or something like that, right now it's tax season in the United States, and you work with receipts, wear gloves and wash your hands pretty frequently to wash those particles off. Don't let your kids play with the receipts, because everything goes into their mouth. And overall, wash hands frequently, not because it's COVID, but because the BPA is everywhere. The third and the final offender is phthalates. Phthalates usually interfere with the functioning of our hormonal system, and they are used in everyday items that we have in our house. We have it everywhere. They are used to produce soft plastic. So shower curtain, adhesives, all kinds of food wrap. They actually help lubricate, and they help soften other substances, enhance the absorption. That's why they are in different moisturizers, cosmetics. They help fragrances last longer. So everything that is scented, it has phthalates in it. So to avoid phthalates, you can just look and read the labels and see if you can find the ingredient phthalates, because here's the catch. The phthalate has to be listed as an ingredient if it's inside of the product. Yet, if it is a part of a fragrance, then the manufacturers don't have to do it, and that is the law. So even though the phthalates can make up to 20 or more % of the whole product, if they are part of the fragrance, they don't have to be listed, and there are a lot of different kinds of phthalates out there. So avoid phthalate as an ingredient. Avoid conventional perfumes. And if you have that very precious and special perfume that you use on special occasions, please don't put it on your skin. You can just spray your clothes with it. Because what do? We usually do it on our neck, and here's our thyroid gland, and all of those chemicals go right into the hormone production organ. You can, if you're looking at the ingredients and you see the word fragrance, avoid those. Though sometimes it's hard to find products that are totally fragrance free, though those exist, and those would be your safest bet. But you know, when you see the ingredient list, it's usually from the highest content to the lowest. So if the word fragrance is somewhere at the very end, then the amount of it is not that much, so that would be semi-safe. But if it's somewhere in the middle or in the beginning, then there's a lot of it, and I would avoid those. You can, if you want to be on the safe side, you can choose products that specifically state that they're phthalate free or that they are fragrance free, and just fragrance your laundry detergent and whatnot with essential oils or whatever safer alternative you can find. So this is primarily 3 offenders that are causing us a lot of pain, inflammation, and problems connected with endometriosis. There is a lot of others out there. If you are trying to see what you can do to change that, you can start. Don't panic, and don't think that, oh my God, this is horrible. You can start by changing your environment one step at a time. Knowing what toxins to avoid is already giving you a lot of power. There are a lot of other toxins that I would like to talk about that are worth mentioning, but we are not limited in time. So if this topic interests you, there will be a free workshop on March 1st where you can learn more about toxins, what they do, and how they affect us and how to avoid them. You will be able to assess your own exposure to toxins, and you will be able to strategize with me as your coach the ways to avoid them, how to check for them, and stuff like that. So if you'd like to participate, send me a message after this live. Spots are limited so that everybody gets proper support and guidance. And that's pretty much it. Let me open the floor for the comments, and while you guys are typing, I will address the questions that I received prior to this live. So the first question is, how much exposure creates endometriosis? Well, this is different for everybody. First of all, it depends on what toxic load you were actually born with. And that sounds scary, but a lot of research shows that newborns are already born with more than 200 chemicals and pollutants in their blood already. That is a very scary statistic, but it depends on the source of what you are talking about, what exposure to what toxin, whether you are exposed to this on a daily basis or once in a while, because women on average are exposed to like 160 toxins excluding makeup on a daily basis. So there are all kinds of different factors, and unfortunately toxins hit us where we are very weak and vulnerable. The next question is, how come other people don't seem so affected? That is also a good question, and it also depends. It depends, first of all, on where you live, or where you were born, what practices the chemical plants use or food manufacturers use there. Because some people can develop genetic tolerance to toxins. Some toxins linger in our body longer, and people also have different detoxification pathways. So it matters how fast you can detox and kind of get rid of the toxins that are not 11, they don't take 11 years to break down. But all of that is taken into consideration. It also matters what kind of toxin you have and where it's hiding. Most toxins hide in our fatty tissue. So if somebody has a lot of it, then it'll take, they get affected more. Sometimes it's a skinny person gets affected more. You just never know. There are so many factors why some people do and some people don't, that it's hard to tell for sure. The next question, the toxic load our body can handle, and will we ever be able to handle more? Well, it is kind of it's hard to calculate the toxic load of a particular body. Like Tanya can handle this much and Jessica can handle this much, because there are so many toxins around us, and every toxin has its own toxic load. Apparently, if we're talking about dangerous poisons like arsenic, for example, which is actually in our water and in our food, there is a lethal dose to that toxin. So if we get too much, there's a number for it. We're gonna die. Toxins like BPA, dioxins, and phthalates, they don't actually cause lethal effect, but they cause some issues that eventually can produce a dangerous outcome. So if somebody dies, say from cancer, that's what it's considered, cancer. The cause of death is cancer, and not overexposure to all these chemicals over the years. And when it comes to can we handle more, in my opinion, we already do. Our ancestors have been exposed to so many different chemicals and poisons for centuries before they were studied, before they were, deemed safe or not safe. And by the way, today in my stories, I will be sharing some slides with you on that, so that you can see that what our ancestors were exposed to, and we kind of got either genetic tolerance to those, or they are affecting us in the form of endometriosis. And the thing is that the industry itself, the industry of toxins and chemicals, is developing all the time. We may handle this much, but then they produce something new. That new interferes and interacts with the old toxins. It creates new combinations, and this is just a never-ending process, unfortunately. And our immune system is constantly under attack. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let me see if there's any questions. If you come up with any questions or something does not make sense, my direct message is always open. I always have an option of a free consultation one-on-one where you can ask your questions directly. We can talk about your endometriosis. Don't forget to send me a message if you would like to participate in the free workshop that starts on March 1st. Thank you for spending time with me. If you are a Super Bowl fan tomorrow, happy Super Bowl. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.